"No, I don't care who he says he is. He doesn't belong here. He's dangerous." The white woman's voice was piercing, filled with pure rage. Her face was red, her hair disheveled, and spit was flying from her mouth as she screamed in the middle of a quiet suburban street. She was pointing frantically at a tall black man who stood perfectly calm, his hands now behind his back in handcuffs. His face showed nothing but heartbreak as he watched a little blonde-haired girl sobbing hysterically. "Daddy! Daddy, please don't take my daddy!" An 8-year-old's voice cracked with pure terror as she reached for the man being led away. "He didn't do anything wrong. Please, he's my daddy." The woman who had made the call felt vindicated. She had done it. She had finally gotten rid of the problem she thought existed. What she didn't know was that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The one person who could save her dying child was the exact same man she had just destroyed. Marcus Williams was 38 years old. If you saw him walking down the street, you might make assumptions. At 6'2", with a powerful build and arms covered in intricate tattoos, he could look intimidating to someone who didn't know his story. But those tattoos weren't gang symbols or prison art. They were memorials. Each one told a story of a fallen comrade from his tours in Afghanistan. Mixed among those tributes were symbols of his other calling, medical symbols, children's drawings, dates marking lives he'd saved as one of the country's most skilled pediatric trauma surgeons. Marcus had recently moved to Willowbrook, an upscale suburban neighborhood. He moved there for two simple reasons. The school district was excellent, and his new house was only 12 minutes from Children's Hospital. Running around their new house was Sophia Williams, with her bright blonde hair and crystal blue eyes. Sophia was pure joy in human form. She was artistic, bubbly, and saw the world through endless possibility. Sophia had no memory of her biological father. She'd been just a baby when Army Sergeant Jake Morrison was killed by an IED in Afghanistan. But Jake's best friend Marcus had made a promise over his dying friend's body. He'd promised to love that little girl like she was his own. Marcus had kept that promise every single day for 8 years. The legal adoption had been finalized when Sophia was 2, and she'd never known any father but Marcus. Love had made them a family, and that was all that mattered. But not everyone saw it that way. 3 houses down lived Karen Mitchell, a 42-year-old woman whose life had been slowly crumbling for years. Karen was a real estate agent whose business had declined as her reputation for being difficult spread through the community. She was also the self-appointed neighborhood watch coordinator. Karen lived alone in a house that was far too big for one person. She'd been divorced for 3 years, and the custody arrangement still felt like a knife in her heart. Her 7-year-old son, Tyler, only visited every other weekend. What Karen didn't advertise to anyone was that Tyler had been born with a heart condition that required constant monitoring. Every slight chest pain sent Karen into a spiral of anxiety. That fear had made her controlling, suspicious, and bitter. On a Tuesday morning, 3 days after Marcus and Sophia had moved in, they were in their kitchen making homemade cookies. It had been Sophia's idea to make something special for their new neighbors. "Daddy, can we put extra chocolate chips in Mrs. Karen's cookies?" "Of course, sweetheart. That's very thoughtful of you." They packaged the warm cookies in a wicker basket with a handwritten note. It was such a simple, innocent gesture, the kind of thing that it should have been the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Instead, it was about to trigger a nightmare. When Marcus knocked on Karen's door, she opened it with the chain still attached, peering through the crack like she was expecting a home invasion. "What do you want?" Her voice was sharp, suspicious, already hostile. Marcus smiled warmly, gently placing his hand on Sophia's shoulder. "Hi there, I'm Marcus, and this is Sophia. We just moved in next door and wanted to introduce ourselves." Karen's eyes darted frantically between Marcus and Sophia. Something was wrong with this picture in her mind. "Is that your daughter?" The question came out loaded with disbelief and accusation. "Yes, she is. We brought you some cookies that Sophia helped bake." Sophia, oblivious to the tension, piped up brightly. "I put extra chocolate chips in them. Daddy says chocolate makes everything better." But Karen wasn't charmed. She was staring at them like they were con artists. "I don't accept food from strangers, and I'd prefer if you stayed on your side of the property line." The rejection hit Sophia like a physical blow. Her bright smile faded, confusion clouding her features. Marcus felt his heart break a little, but he kept his voice calm. "Of course, if you ever need anything, we're right next door." As they walked away, Sophia whispered softly, "Daddy, why didn't she like our cookies?" "Some people just aren't ready to make new friends yet, sweetheart." The moment they were out of sight, Karen was on the phone with her friend Linda. "You won't believe what just moved in next door. A big black man with some little white girl. Something's not right about that situation, Linda." Linda tried to be reasonable. Maybe she's adopted. But Karen's mind was already made up. "I'm keeping an eye on this situation. Someone needs to protect these children." What happened next was a systematic campaign of harassment disguised as community protection. Week 1 of Karen's investigation began at 7:30 in the morning. She positioned herself at her bedroom window with binocs, rulers, and her smartphone. She watched Marcus help Sophia get ready for school, braiding her hair with patience. She photographed him walking Sophia to the bus stop, holding her backpack while she skipped beside him. She followed them when Marcus drove Sophia to school on bad weather days. To any rational person, these photos would have shown a loving father and daughter. But Karen saw evidence of something sinister. Karen took her concerns to Sophia's new school. She wasn't just some random neighbor making complaints. She was someone who had sold houses to half the school board members. She was the neighborhood watch coordinator who had organized fundraisers for the school. When Karen marched into the main office with her folder of photographs, the principal came out to greet her personally. "Karen, what brings you here today?" She was ushered into a private conference room where Mrs. Patterson, Sophia's teacher, and Assistant Principal Collins gathered to hear her concerns. "I'm concerned about one of your students, the little blonde girl, Sophia Williams. She's living with a man who doesn't look like family." Collins leaned forward with interest. Karen had helped his family find their dream home, and he trusted her judgment. "What exactly are your concerns, Karen?" "Look at these pictures. Does this look like a normal family situation? The way he's always touching her, always hovering around her. And his tattoos? What kind of father figure has arms covered in tattoos?" Mrs. Patterson tried to defend Marcus. "Mr. Williams seems like a caring father. Sophia speaks about him constantly with obvious love." But Collins cut her off. "Karen, you've always had excellent instincts. If you're concerned, we should look into this. Mrs. Patterson, keep a close eye on this situation." Week 2 brought escalation when Karen spotted Marcus and Sophia at the community pool. Marcus as teaching Sophia to swim, being incredibly gentle with her. Karen watched as he carefully applied sunscreen to Sophia's fair skin and braided her hair back. All she could see was something suspicious. She contacted the pool manager, Tom. "That man over there with the little blonde girl. I don't think they're legitimate residents. Can you check their membership credentials?" What followed was one of the most humiliating experiences of Marcus's life. Pool staff asked him to provide identification and proof of residency in front of dozens of families. Children stopped playing to stare. Parents whispered among themselves, "Daddy, why did that man want to see your papers?" Sophia whispered as they left. "Sometimes adults have to show their identification, sweetheart. It's nothing to worry about." But Marcus was worried. Karen's influence was spreading like poison through the community. Week 3 was when Karen's behavior became dangerous. She filed multiple noise complaints about Sophia's 30-minute piano practice sessions. She called Child Protective Services. "I have concerns about a living situation in my neighborhood. A small white child living with a black man who claims to be her father. I'm the neighborhood watch coordinator." CPS took her concerns seriously and launched a full investigation. The caseworker spent 3 hours in their home, examining every room, reviewing Marcus's adoption paperwork and medical credentials. "Dr. Williams, it's clear this was a malicious report. Sophia is obviously loved and well cared for. There's absolutely no evidence of any wrongdoing." That night, Sophia had nightmares for the first time in years, asking if someone was going to take her away from her daddy. Through it all, Sophia began to change. The bubbly, confident little girl was becoming anxious and withdrawn. "Daddy, why does that lady take pictures of us? Why don't the other kids want to play with me anymore?" The final straw came when Marcus decided to teach Sophia basic car maintenance. He was showing her how to change a tire in their driveway. "Every person should know basic car maintenance, sweetheart. These are important skills." Sophia, wearing little pink overalls and safety goggles, was completely absorbed in the lesson. She was laughing as she tried to loosen a lug nut while Marcus patiently guided her hands. It was a perfect father-daughter moment, but through Karen's twisted lens, she saw something entirely different. "He's teaching that poor child criminal skills. This is probably how trafficking operations work." Without hesitation, Karen dialed 911. "There's a suspicious black man with a white child on Maple Street. He's teaching her to tamper with vehicles. I think he might be involved in car theft or human trafficking." The sound of sirens pierced the quiet Saturday afternoon. 2 patrol cars pulled up, their red and blue lights casting an ominous glow. Neighbors emerged from their homes, phones recording. Marcus looked up from the tire, confusion and dread washing over his face. Sophia hid behind her father, gripping his shirt. "Officers, is there a problem?" The lead officer, Sergeant Murphy, approached. "Sir, we received a call about suspicious activity involving a vehicle and a child." Marcus gestured to the car with its tire partially removed. "I'm teaching my daughter basic car maintenance. We were changing a tire." But Karen came rushing across her yard, practically vibrating with vindicated excitement. "Officers, thank goodness you're here. I'm the one who called. Something's not right about him having that white child." The officers felt they needed to err on the side of caution. "Sir, we're going to need you to come with us to the station for questioning." As handcuffs closed around Marcus's wrists, Sophia began screaming. "Daddy, don't take my daddy. He didn't do anything wrong." With emotion, her voice cracked with terror. "Please, he's my daddy. He takes care of me." At the police station, Detective Rodriguez was processing Marcus's case when his phone rang. Children's Hospital. "Detective, this is Patricia Morgan." "We have a critical situation. Dr. Marcus Williams was supposed to perform emergency surgery on a 7-year-old boy in cardiac arrest. Where is he?" Rodriguez felt his blood run cold. "Did you say Dr. Williams?" "Yes, Dr. Marcus Williams, head of pediatric trauma surgery. This child is dying, Detective." At that exact moment, across town, Karen's phone rang. Her ex-husband's number. "Karen, you need to get to Children's Hospital right now. Tyler collapsed during his soccer game. They're saying it's his heart." The words hit Karen like a freight train. She raced to the hospital, finding David and Sarah in the waiting area, both looking terrified. "Where is he? What happened?" "He collapsed on the field. His heart stopped for almost 2 minutes." A nurse approached with a grim expression. "Your son is in critical condition. He needs immediate surgery, but we're trying to locate our pediatric trauma surgeon. There's been some kind of delay." "Get him here, whatever it costs. Dr. Williams is the best pediatric surgeon in the state, but we can't locate him right now." Karen felt like she was drowning. Her son was dying, and the surgeon was missing. She had no idea that the missing surgeon was sitting in a jail cell because of her call. 25 minutes later, the elevator doors opened and Marcus Williams stepped out. Still wearing the clothes he'd been arrested in, exhaustion written across his face, he moved with focused urgency. Karen looked up and recognized him immediately. This was the man whose life she had tried to destroy, the man she had called dangerous, and now he was her son's only hope. Their eyes met across the hallway. Karen saw something in his expression that made her feel worse. Not anger, not hatred, but sadness and disappointment. She approached him shakily. "Please, I know what I did. I know I was wrong, but please don't let my son pay for my missed." Oaks. Marcus looked at this woman who had spent weeks trying to destroy his family, who had traumatized his daughter. Without hesitation, he said, "Ma'am, I took an oath to save lives. Your son will get the best care possible." The surgery took 4 agonizing hours. Karen waited in the hallway, consumed by guilt so profound it felt like it might kill her. David was furious. Sarah was disgusted. You spent weeks stalking the man who's now trying to save our son's life. What is wrong with you? I thought I was protecting children. The only thing wrong was in your head. You nearly killed Tyler with your racism. During the wait, Mrs. Hayes arrived with Sophia Williams. The little girl Karen had convinced herself needed protection walked directly over to where Karen sat crying. Are you okay? Your little boy is going to be fine. My daddy saves kids all the time. Karen looked down at this beautiful, innocent child and felt something inside her completely shatter. Sweetie, I'm so sorry for what I did to you and your daddy. I was wrong about everything. Sophia considered this with the serious expression children get when trying to understand adult problems. It's okay. Daddy says sometimes people are scared of things they don't understand, but that doesn't make them bad people. It just makes them confused. At 2:17 in the morning, Marcus emerged from the operating room, exhaustion written across his face, but he was smiling. Tyler is going to be fine. The procedure went perfectly. We repaired the defect, and his heart is showing improved function. He should make a full recovery. Karen collapsed with relief, but as she looked at this man who had just saved her son's life, she realized that some mistakes can never truly be undone. The aftermath proved that actions have consequences, but also that redemption is possible. Within 48 hours, the video of Marcus being arrested while teaching his daughter went viral. The contrast between the peaceful father-daughter moment and Karen's accusations sparked national outrage. Karen was charged with filing false police reports, harassment, and making fraudulent claims to CPS. The real estate board revoked her license. Her reputation and livelihood vanished overnight. The neighborhood turned against her completely. But perhaps the most devastating consequence was personal. When Tyler woke up after surgery, he asked Marcus, "Are you the doctor who fixed my heart?" "I am. How are you feeling, buddy?" "Better. Mom said she was mean to you. I'm sorry." "Tyler, you don't need to apologize for anyone else's actions." But Tyler, with childlike honesty, continued, "Mom was wrong about you, wasn't she? You're not scary at all. You're nice." The conversations that followed were among the most difficult of Karen's life. David's words cut deepest. "Your racism almost killed our son, Karen. Do you understand that?" Even Karen's mother was ashamed. "I thought I raised you better than this. You nearly killed your own grandchild with your hatred." Marcus requested a meeting with the prosecutor. "I don't want to see Miss Mitchell go to prison. What she did was wrong, but I believe in redemption. I believe people can change if they're willing to do the work." Marcus proposed community service at Children's Hospital, mandatory counseling, and public education about racial profiling. Prison will just make her bitter. Community service might make her better. The transformation didn't happen overnight. For weeks, Karen performed her duties resentfully. Then one day, she witnessed Marcus performing 8-hour emergency surgery on a 3-year-old car accident victim. She watched him refuse brakes, his hands steady and precise as he fought to save a child's life. As she watched the parents collapse with relief, Karen finally understood who she had tried to destroy. This was a man who dedicated his life to saving children, and she had tried to take him away from all the children who needed him. The irony became even more personal as Tyler recovered and became best friends with Sophia Williams. Watching them play together, Karen was forced to confront another layer of her prejudice. Her son's closest friend was the girl she had tried to separate from her father. 1 year after Tyler's surgery, Karen wrote a public letter taking full accountability. The letter went viral for positive reasons. "I almost cost my own son his life because of my prejudice. I looked at a loving father and daughter and saw only what my racist assumptions told me to see. Dr. Williams is a hero who has saved hundreds of children, including mine. I was the danger to children, not him." Exactly 1 year later, at Sophia's school father-daughter dance, Marcus was dancing with Sophia, both of them laughing and surrounded by other families. Karen was dropping Tyler off at the same dance. She watched her son hug the man who had saved his life. Taking a deep breath, she approached them hesitantly. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but thank you for saving Tyler, and I'm sorry for what I put Sophia through." Sophia looked at her father, who nodded encouragingly, then turned to Karen with childhood wisdom. "It's okay, Mrs. Karen. Daddy says people can learn to be better." Marcus looked at Karen with eyes that held no anger, only hope. "We all deserve a chance to grow, Karen. I hope you find peace." As Karen walked away, watching her son dance with friends while being protected by the very man she had once tried to destroy, she understood the final lesson. She had learned it at almost the ultimate cost, but she had learned it. The story became a testament to the power of grace, the possibility of redemption, and the truth that sometimes the most profound changes come from the most devastating mistakes.